I want to be in old New Hampshire. I want to go. Hi, I'm Ruth Craig. I'm the editor of the New Hampshire Genealogical Record. Oops. And I'm here to talk to you about the upcoming issue, Volume 38, Number 2, Spring 2026. Actually, it's almost summer. This is our special issue on New Hampshire patriots. And I'm actually standing in Vermont, but not in New Hampshire. New Hampshire, right across the Connecticut River. And I'm standing a little bit downriver from the place where the first settlers of what is now Norwich, Vermont, laid the first log cabin. And one of the early settlers is discussed in the first issue in this upcoming issue, in the first article in this upcoming issue. It's an article by Tom Jones, and it's about a patriot named Josiah Burton. And he and his father came to this area very early. It was actually before it was even Vermont. And so you can read not only about Josiah, his patriotism, but the early relationship between what is now Vermont and New Hampshire in this article. You will learn so much about history. Now, the second article, we also have an article about Captain Zachariah Beale, who was on the other side of the state. He was from Portsmouth on the coast of New Hampshire. This article is by Alan Lamb Harrington. And Zachariah Beale, very unfortunately, was killed. And it's a very unique story. Alan Harrington has consulted so many original sources from firsthand, information, and also historical sources about this. So it is a terrific, but of course very sad article. We also have an article by Eric Swanson about a man named Benjamin Sleeper. This is a fantastically well-researched article. This is a guy who he went off to the Revolutionary War, spent the full 3 years in the war. I mean, he did have some time off, some furloughs and stuff, and then came back to New Hampshire, and then he lived out in a very rural area, or he lived in 2 different rural areas. And so this was the big adventure of his life. And Eric has dug up so much information about this, not very, he was just the common, all of the guys, and most of the guys who fought for our freedom were of this type. And there's an article by Virginia D. Hansen about Elisha Thomas, and you really just have to read the article. The story of this man's life. He survived the revolution, but it's just a whole series of tragedies, and she solved the essential question about him, which was, with all these tragedies, did he have any descendants that lived? And so you can read about him in her paper. Finally, we have an article by Scott Allen Magoon. He's done several articles for our journal about his Magoon ancestors, and so this is continuing on into ancestors who went off to the Revolutionary War. So there are multiple Revolutionary War patriots discussed in this article, and perhaps because of the war, they realized there's a world outside of New Hampshire, and many of them moved, they left descendants in Canada. So this is just a wide-ranging article that covers many different patriots and many different battles. And then finally, we also have a book review in this issue. So enjoy it. Happy 250th anniversary, and we are so pleased to bring you the story of all of these men. Thank you.